it is time once again to get into G1 CLIMAX 34 action. As Night 6 is now a thing of the past, it's time for us to talk about it, to recap it, review it here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast. And I just so happen to be Mr. Warren Hayes, so everything's falling into place. Like this plan of reviewing Night 6 on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show when Night 6 is done by Mr. Warren Hayes is just like it's a seamless plan. It's just going tremendously. Hello and welcome. We've got some stuff to break down. It's been another very good show. The G1 so far. I mean, the G1 so far has been good. Nothing that there's no matches that will blow your mind. Nothing. It's kind of, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but nothing that, so far you're going to walk around, pace and do some walking and pacing is what I'm trying to say. You're not going to, it's nothing that that's going to pop you out of your seat, but everything has been solid. Everything has been good. This has been a good watch so far. The hits are much more numerous than the misses. I think tonight there were two really, really good matches on top of it all. Look, we'll just get right into it. If you're watching on YouTube, though, do consider leaving a like and a subscription if this is the first time that you're here, because this is part of my daily G1 coverage that I do every day. When there's a G1 show, I pop in and I give you a breakdown and analysis and reviews and all that good stuff. So if you don't want to miss a thing, go right ahead and do that. Or if you're listening on your favorite podcast application, same as well. Plus a little 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and a 5-star rating on Spotify would help tremendously on top of that. Just saying. But let's get right to it with the results of today's show. Boltin Oleg defeated El Phantasmo. Jeff Cobb defeated Yuya Uemura. Konosuke Takeshita defeated HENARE. David Finlay defeated Ren Narita. And Hirooki Goto got his New Japan Cup win back by defeating Yota Tsuji. So right off the bat, let's go with the opener. El Phantasmo defeating Boltin Oleg. I thought this was quite good. I thought this was a very good opener. Oleg dominates to start, and to start things off, stalling suplex, tries to pull it off, but ELP wriggles out of it. Crossbody lion salt combo by ELP. Nothing wrong with playing the hits, but Oleg gets him into the gut wrench. He sort of rolls through it all, and he gets him in the gut wrench swing thing, swings him a couple of times, tosses him. You know the drill by now. A dive by ELP sends Oleg over the rails. He being ELP, wants to do the dive that he does from the top rope over and into over the rails and into the audience. But Jato's there and he's like, no, don't do it. And they're sort of pointing to his knee, which had been worked over in the previous match. So they're like, oh, well, yeah, you're right. We should be careful. And that was, a good little bit of storytelling, because the knee would come back to, even though Oleg wasn't working the knee throughout this match, it would come back to haunt ELP later on in this match. Oleg kicks out of the Thunder Kiss 86, which is still one of my favorite wrestler signature moves. I love the Thunder Kiss 86. It looks tremendous every time. Maybe it's just me. I really like it. Oleg dumps ELP to the floor off a fireman's carry, and this is where the knee sort of gets hurt again, where it gets into play. ELP barely manages to beat the 20 count because of it. Oleg catches him on a tornado DDT attempt. There's a lot of near falls, but it ends with a kamikaze. And getting to the kamikaze, that final one, ELP is really struggling out of some, he's avoiding getting caught in a kind of, I think he managed to escape 2 previous attempts. A lot of good back and forth here, and Oleg gets the win. Oleg is at 4 points and ELP is at 2. I thought this was a super strong opener. I was like, oh, okay, this is very, very, very good. I think they both played off each other tremendously. You know, you can still see the that Oleg is, you know, there's you can still see that he's a little wet behind the ears. I guess that's the expression, right? He's a little wet behind the ears, but ELP, you know, tremendous vet, you know, gets through everything. He was able to pull it off. It's tremendous stuff. So yeah, an extra win for Oleg. I don't think anyone, myself being the first, I don't think anyone really expected Callum Newman and Boltin Oleg to get anything over 2 points apiece in the in this G1, right? I thought, you know, everyone was like, yeah, they'll get one win, and then after that they're gonna eat shit. But no, I mean, here Oleg's got his 2 point. He's got his 2 wins. He's got 4 points. Newman has 2 points. 4 points, excuse, 2 wins, 4. Jesus, that's how it works. It's 2 wins, 4 points. I know, thank you. Then we got Jeff Cobb defeating Yuya Uemura. Boy, this rocked. Again, our boy Uemura coming in and delivering another super solid match. And you know, and that's, look, the match starts off and you got Uemura trying to get some offense in, but you know, Cobb is the big meaty man and he's no selling stuff, or he's blocking things, you know. He's just being Jeff Cobb, really. Big control segment by Cobb follows after this once he gets in control. They go to the floor where Uemura gets a bit of the upper hand. Cobb catches a Yuya Uemura crossbody once they're back in the ring and rolls through it. Goes for the standing moonsault, but Uemura rolls out of the way, so that wipes out. He throws, he being Cobb, Uemura around, and then lands the standing moonsault, which is still something impressive to see even after all this time. I mean, no matter how many times I see it, you know, Jeff Cobb doing the standing moonsault is incredible stuff. Top rope crossbody, a German followed by a German suplex and followed by a dragon suplex by Uemura, who also lands a frog splash, calling it Walker Stewart called it the high fly flow, of course, and then goes for another high fly flow, but Cobb moves out of the way. Uranagi by Cobb. Uemura gets a few near falls, but Cobb lands the F5000 and the Tour of the Islands. We're done. It's a win for the New Japan World Television Champion. I thought this match rocked. I thought it was tremendous. Everything made sense. Everything connected. Cobb did, or excuse me, more Uemura, I think, you know, still felt like he was fighting from beneath, but not as much as the previous matches where that was clearly the signature. Here he was getting a lot of offense in. He was doing a lot of great stuff, and they were dropping bombs on each other. This was a good, hearty, solid professional wrestling match that really started amping up towards the end. Some great feeling. I left this match and I was like, this rocked. This absolutely rocked. And I think, you know, I think that going along and saying that Yuya Uemura right now, I'm going to go along with what pretty much everyone is saying, that Yuya Uemura is standing out from the pack of new guys right now in this tournament. And I think it's undeniable. Maybe because, you know, we sort of talked about it at the last B block review on night 4. You know, maybe it's because people weren't expecting this out of him. Maybe because the expectations were squarely placed on 3 other guys. Maybe because, you know, people thought he wasn't as good as this is, and is suddenly like coming out of nowhere, tearing everything up. He has been very good, and the crowd connection he's building I know this is it's starting to get a little bit of a tired talking point, but the crowd connection he is building is significant as well in making his matches all the more interesting and fascinating. So don't you worry. Uemura is going to be a guy, if not the guy. He may just be coming in out of left field here. But he did lose here. He still has 6 points. Jeff Cobb scores another 2 points. He is at 4, but a tremendous match. I give it 4 stars. I thought it was great. This is a tremendous match. And it was followed by another tremendous match in the form of Konosuke Takeshita defeating HENARE. So we got some tests of strength here to begin. Jocks being jocks. And it's sort of even until it goes to the floor, which allows Takeshita to get in control here. That eventually leads to a berserker bomb by HENARE and a running Samoan drop. HENARE rolls through a powerbomb attempt, jumping knee, flying knee, and a German suplex follow. And then there's some fighting spirit from HENARE. Well, the flying knee and the German were from Takeshita, and HENARE pops back up with some fighting spirit. Konosuke Takeshita lands a poison Rana, and then we get more fighting spirit from HENARE, who pops up from that. So you're like, yeah, let's go. This is good stuff. He drops Takeshita. Both men are down. A little later on, we get a blue thunder bomb by Takeshita. Big strike exchange between the two, which they trade big blows on each other until HENARE takes Takeshita down with one of those wild missile headbutts, which are absolutely crazy. Takeshita lands a Streets of Rage and a Brainbuster, followed by the spinning suplex, the Raging Fire, and that's how he gets the win over HENARE here. Look, I love this match too. I also thought it was great, and I was super pumped. I was like, yeah, this is real good stuff here that we're going through. Back to back, just tremendous physical matches between and in this situation, two guys who just want to lay big strikes into each other, who are both intense in their own way. I thought it was a blast. I gave this 4 stars as well. So we were on a roll here. So Takeshita is at 6 points now. He's tied at the top of the block with Uemura, whereas HENARE is at 4. Next, we had David Finlay defeating Ren Narita. This I did not like as much. I really didn't. Not even close to liking it. Not even something you're like, I kind of liked it. Nope. Nope. I did not care for this match in the slightest. Well, not in the slightest. It's a little harsh, but I really didn't like this match. It did nothing for me. It starts before the bell, and it's starting before the bell and goes into the audience and all that. I'm like, okay, maybe we've got something here. This Bullet Club pissing contest that maybe we're going to be subject to here. I'm okay with that. I'm like, okay, I'm good. Let's go ahead and do this. Kanemaru shows up before the bell rings, and he starts assisting Ren Narita, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's going to be this kind of match. Right then and there, I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Well, so much for that. And my instincts were right. Once the bell rings, Ren Narita, once they're in the ring and the bell rings, Ren Narita sends everything back to the floor. He does a neck breaker over the rail, uses a chair while Kanemaru distracts the ref. Finlay clotheslines Ren Narita over, once they're back in the ring, over the top rope to the floor. So there's a lot of action happening on the floor. Back in the ring, Finlay does his throwing suplex deal. Narita lands an exploder, locks in a guillotine, which looked really good, actually. Airplane spin by Finlay and a Dominator. Corner turnbuckle is removed. Probably Kanemaru did it, right? I don't remember seeing it. Maybe it did. Maybe my eyes were down, jotting down some notes while that happened. I don't know. But Ren Narita runs Finlay into it. The ref is distracted. Again, there's some whiskey mist that gets involved, but and then Narita tries to roll him up for the pin after that, but Finlay kicks out. There's a ref bump, and then there's some nonsense with weapons that happen. You know, the push-up bar, pull-up bar, whatever, the plank of wood that Narita carries around, and Dave Finlay's shillelagh. So they're swinging at each other, like they're, swinging swords like they're gladiators or something. And eventually Dave Finlay cracks the shillelagh over Ren Narita's head. Pair of buckle bombs and a power bomb get the win done. I like the finish. I really like the buckle bombs and the exclamation mark power bomb at the end to just finish it all up. He didn't go in and do the it's not in Oblivion now. It's the other one. Into Oblivion is not his finisher anymore. I don't remember the name, but the other one, I don't remember. It's his new finisher. Well, newish. Now he just, he pummeled Narita with the shillelagh, which is fine, which should be enough, and then punctuates with the power bombs. So anyway, and despite the fact that I like the finish a lot, this match has all the stuff I don't like. It's just all this nonsense that I really, really don't care for. Lots of interference, just a lot of bullshit in this match, and stuff that doesn't get me interested in it. And it's a shame because, I was excited to be able to come back here and, keep telling everyone that Dave Finlay's G1 is tremendous so far and that he's been doing great work. Not that he didn't work hard. It's just, it's not the showcase here. It's all the other nonsense around it. And that's not why I watch pro wrestling, especially not the G1. Anyway, Dave Finlay gets another 2 points. He's at 4, and Narita stays at 4. And in the main event, Hirooki Goto defeated Yota Tsuji, which was, as I mentioned, a rematch from the New Japan Cup Finals earlier this year, which was a tremendous finals. I loved that match, and I think I loved it more than this match, but this was also very good. Tsuji gets in control early on. He has he applies body scissors. Goto fights back, gets stomped for his troubles. Then Goto comes around again, lands the Ushigoroshi. They strike, and Goto takes him down with a huge lariat, which is always a great signature move from Goto. A stomp by Tsuji follows, and he's just beating the tar out of Goto. Goto is dead weight at this point. So, Tsuji keeps on him, does a sit-out slam. GTW by Goto when he mounts a comeback. Kicks Tsuji, runs right into a lariat. Tsuji tries to struggle from, he gets put into the position to do the GTR. He's trying to struggle out of it, trying to keep, Goto from getting his hand positioning down. But he eventually does, and Goto lands the GTR and, of course, the win. So like I said, I thought this was 3 3/4 stars. By the way, I gave Finlay and Narita 2 3/4 stars. This I gave 3 3/4 stars. I thought it was very good, and I think these two gentlemen have great chemistry with one another. It's really tremendous. But as it stands for, as it stands in this match here, I didn't feel like Tsuji was invested in this match. And sometimes I get this vibe from Yota Tsuji where sometimes he feels a little too disconnected from what he's doing, right? And I know he's not like Mr. Explosive who just, goes on, is always on this high level, high octane level. I get that. But, sometimes I get that vibe that and I understand his ideas that he's cocky. He's very self-assured. That's why he smiles so much. So he might feel like he's above what's going on and that he's better than everyone, right? I understand all of these elements and they work well for him, but sometimes I think it plays into him not giving a little extra effort, if that makes sense, right? Like he's not. Does that make sense? And he's very, don't get me wrong, I think he's very good. I think he has all the potential to be the guy in New Japan. But there's, like in this match here, I didn't feel big Yota Tsuji effort, And again, I can understand that maybe he was playing a little more of the heel role here to a degree where, he was in control for a lot of the match, was doing pretty much what he did for Goto and was basically setting up the comeback spots and the hope spots and all of that. I understand. But there's also a way to do things without between the moves, without completely sacrificing the vibe, the feel, the intensity, the energy of the match, right? I'm not saying this was bad. I'm saying this was one of these vibe matches for Tsuji where I feel things are a little off. If that makes any sense to you. So he registers a loss and a win for Goto, who is at 4 points, still not out of the conversation. Yota Tsuji is still at 2. Neither man are out of the conversation regardless still. So there we go. That's basically how things went down. If you want any recommendations on my part, well, the 2 4-star matches that I spoke of should be enough to whet your whistle. Jeff Cobb and Uemura and Takeshita versus HENARE. Those were just tremendous matches. I love them both, and I think they're worth your time. They are very, very, very solid, very good professional wrestling matches. And isn't that what we want? But and here's the thing. I feel like tonight's and I'm gonna go in. Sorry about that. Hit the microphone with my. I can't spell, but I'm gonna go back and just check. I feel like today's show wasn't as long. I don't know if it just like flew by, but I feel like yesterday was just about in the same amount of the same time frame. I felt like everything just flew by. I guess because I'm looking at the times on Cage Match. I'm like, 12 minutes, 13, 11. Main event was 17:37. That's not bad. But then I'm looking at yesterday's. Night 5, and it's still around this at 12 minutes, 11 minutes. Well, maybe there were a couple of matches that were longer. 15 minutes for Shota and Great Khan. Zack Sabre Jr. and Jake Lee went 17. 15 minutes for the main event. And I'm like, okay, it's not so bad. I don't know. I feel like it really flew by because I was basically going to tell you, if you just want to watch the block matches, go right ahead. Like it's a good evening of pro wrestling, and if all else fails, you can skip Dave Finlay and Ren Narita. You can just move on to the main event after Takeshita and HENARE. I'd be absolutely fine. But yeah, anyway, if you're strapped for time, Takeshita, HENARE, it'll be a nice and Jeff Cobb versus Uemura, and they're both like sub 15-minute matches, so you're fine. You're fine. I forgot to talk about attendance again at the start, which is kind of annoying now. It's kind of annoying. I keep forgetting. I put it down on my on my list here. Let's talk about the attendance real quick before we talk about the standings, as if I was starting off the show here. 1,780 people in Fukuoka. Get it right, Warren. In Fukuoka at the Fukuoka Convention Center. How good is that, you may ask? Well, let's see if we compare to last year, night 6 of the G1 CLIMAX 33. They were in Nagano, 1,180 people. So not the same city, not the same venue, but they did draw more than last year, which is a good thing. However, if, New Japan was in the Fukuoka Convention Center not that long ago, just this past May for Wrestling Dontaku. They did both nights there, I should say. Night 1, 2,440 people. Night 2, 4,238 people. Night one of Wrestling Dontaku, of course, was Nick Nemeth versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. You also had Dave Finlay and Yota Tsuji as the co-main event. And the main event of night 2 was John Moxley defeating Ren Narita for the IWGP World title. You also had Dave Finlay and Nick Nemeth in the co-main event spot, and that's where Nemeth dropped the global title back to Finlay. It also had that tremendous Shingo Takagi Gabe Kidd match. So, I mean, I guess you can't put, you can't not look at this and say, oh, well, the power of a good main event, of a compelling main event. Like, I mean, clearly, Mox versus Ren generated enough attention for people to come in and see that. 4,238. You had Hiroshi Tanahashi the night before, and they drew half of that. Little more than half, but nonetheless. The main event for night 6 was Hirooki Goto and Yota Tsuji. I guess, yeah, it's fine. Like, especially coming off the heels of the New Japan Cup finals. I mean, I had that circled. I was like, oh, I'm interested to see in this rematch, but clearly didn't interest enough people to fill it up. It is like, we're getting into the midway part of the tournament, and it's not exactly the biggest houses, but it's not that big a main event. And if part of what we're doing here is putting some of the young guys in these main event spots to see if they'll draw, well, you can draw your own conclusions, ha ha ha, pun intended. Because nonetheless, night 6 this year drew better than night 6 last year, but was clearly under both nights of Wrestling Dontaku, which was, just about 2 months ago in the same venue in the same city. So, I don't know. I'll leave it at that for now. But, if we're going year over year, this is a better night 6 than it was last year. And that's probably a very good sign. I think it's a good sign for a night that didn't have, But listen, what we'll be able to do tomorrow, is compare tomorrow when we come back to Fukuoka, and because we're doing back-to-back nights, right? And in the main event, we've got Tetsuya Naito, so that will be a very good indicator. We'll absolutely talk about this tomorrow, and we'll try to do it at the start of the show instead of in the middle, like I'm doing here right now. We're halfway through, basically almost halfway through the tournament and I haven't figured this out yet. But one thing that I also want to point out is that we are hitting the halfway mark of the tournament, which is usually when the, you know, the dog days of the tournament start, where things are not quite as compelling and interesting, but and usually this is the time where the G1 sort of turns into a slog, and it doesn't feel that way yet. And I hope it maintains. I hope we keep on down this path, because the opposite's not fun. Just as simple as that. It's not as fun. Let's take a look at the standings now in Block B to see where we're at. Uemura and Konosuke Takeshita are both at the top at 6 points. Then we have the Logjam in the middle at 4 points. HENARE, Narita, Boltin, Cobb, Goto, Finalay all have 4 points. And rounding up the bottom are Yota, Tsuji, and El Phantasmo, both at 2. I don't think Yota Tsuji is going to stay at the bottom much longer. It doesn't make sense to me. But look, this is what I had talked about on the preview show. That was my expectation, and this is what's happening. You know, this was the block where there was going to be more volatility, more competition, where people would be trading wins as opposed to you know, 2 or 3 people running away at the top of the block. So it's a much more interesting feel, like it's anyone's game at this point. You can't even start talking about, you know, who has the best chance to move forward. Like, the block is so incredibly volatile still right now. I think I can't imagine Tsuji staying down at 2 points. I think he might just be the comeback kid for the tournament. I can't imagine him not making it to the finals here. I think Takeshita is going to continue on a good streak. And look, I don't know how they booked Uemura. And I know that booking a tournament is something you do ahead of time, and you sit down and you think of a lot of things. Like, there's a lot of thought that goes into booking a month-long tournament like this one. So I don't know how Goto had planned to use Uemura moving forward in the tournament, but seeing how good his matches have been and his reactions have been from the audience, I would consider shuffling things around. Like, if I had booked him to win like his first 3 and lose everything else, I'd reconsider that. I wouldn't necessarily just, like, you know, continue down the path of Uemura not having a great tournament. No, I'd go harder. I might revise some things. I might have a meeting with some of the talent and be like, okay, dude, you were supposed to finish with so many points, but we're changing things up, kind of thing. I mean, it's working. It's working, and Uemura, I think, is only going to be hotter as the tournament advances. And as it stands right now, we might just finish the tournament saying, what a breakout performance. He made himself into a star, into an invaluable resource for New Japan through this tournament. So far, like, he would have to completely flub it, I feel, at this point. Right? I'm sure you agree with me. It's been good. He's been doing really, really good. So hopefully that maintains. So as I mentioned a few moments ago, we're back in Fukuoka tomorrow, the 29th of July. These are the matches in A block that will be waiting for us. Callum Newman versus Evil. I don't know why so many people are so incredibly hard on Callum Newman, and I'll probably end up talking about it more tomorrow. But I don't think there is another wrestler who is under so much scrutiny. And it's probably because of the Will Ospreay connection, which I had mentioned might have been a bad idea to lean into. I talked about that on the first night of action. The first night that he came out sporting new gear and that it was very, very Will Ospreay inspired. I was like, this is not good, because all people are going to do are make these connections and they're not going to give them room to grow. I don't understand why people are so hard on a 21-year-old kid who is not being ultra pushed, who's not being shoved down our throats as someone who is, you know, who is meant to be this champion by the end of the year. It's Callum Newman. He's a guy who's mostly, you know, eating losses in the tournament, who fought his way in. Au contraire, I think this is a compelling story, but I'm seeing people turn on him, and I do not understand. I don't understand wrestling fans sometimes. The kid is 21 years old. It's clear what his role is in this G1. Sure, he picked up another win, which surprised us all. Does anyone think he's going to qualify for the playoffs? Probably not. I say probably because this tournament has been, you know, there's been surprises all throughout so far. I don't know. It's so strange to me, but I'll probably end up talking more about that tomorrow. Great-O-Khan will be taking on Jake Lee. Good luck. Good luck to Great-O-Khan. Trying to get the best out of this guy. Great-O-Khan, who has been having a very good tournament so far as well. Shota Umino versus Zack Sabre Jr. That should be a fun one. Shingo Takagi versus Gabe Kidd. Circle that one. That should be tremendous. And Tetsuya Naito versus Sanada in the main event. That can go either way. You know, Sanada's not having a bad tournament, but he's so Sanada to me that, you know, it's just like, okay, but he's not bad. We'll see how it goes with Naito tomorrow. You'd think Naito has to start building up wins, but I also speculated on yesterday's A Block review that maybe Naito just doesn't make it to the playoffs this year. Maybe, or maybe he's going to have one of his classic comebacks, and we're all going to sort of, you know, knock our heads back and go, oh, of course, you know, with a comeback that last year I was clamoring for and was excited for because I thought he was the guy and the Wrestle Kingdom spot was the perfect time to do it. Whereas this year I'm like, do we have to do Tetsuya Naito coming from a huge loss deficit to qualify for the playoffs and then eventually win the block? Do we have to do that? Probably not. Probably not this year. So there you have it, folks. We're going to wrap it up for this edition of the G1 Climax 34 recap and review show. Likes, subscribes on YouTube are always great. 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, 5-star ratings on Spotify are as well. I'll be back tomorrow to recap Block A, Night 2 at Fukuoka. And that's about it. Thank you very much for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow.